Las Vegas, the city of bright lights and endless entertainment, is known for its glitzy casinos, extravagant shows, and non-stop parties. But behind the facade of glamour, edited and excess, lies a sinister and often overlooked evil history of corruption, crime, and deception. From the mob-controlled casinos of the 1950s to the money laundering schemes of the 21st century. To know more about this, stay tuned till the end. There is an evil history behind why Las Vegas is known as Sin City, and it goes all the way back to when the mafia was in control of the city. Surprisingly, despite the mafia's rotten legacy, some of Las Vegas's most infamous mobsters are responsible for the city we know and love today. In the early 1800s, the area that is now Las Vegas was a remote and sparsely populated desert region. The first non-Native American Mormon missionary settlers arrived in the area in the mid-1850s, and the city of Las Vegas was founded in 1905. However, the city as we know it today began to take shape in the early 20th century, when the construction of the Hoover Dam brought an influx of workers to the area. The city began to develop as a gambling and entertainment destination. The city's first casino, the Perro Dice Club, opened in 1931, the same year that Nevada legalized gambling. In the 1920s, Nevada began exploring ways to boost its economy and attract more visitors to the state. One of the ideas that were proposed was to legalize gambling as a way to stimulate tourism. This idea was met with resistance from many residents who saw gambling as a morally corrupt activity. However, the state's dire economic situation during the Great Depression made it clear that something needed to be done to spur growth. In 1931, the Nevada state legislature passed a bill legalizing gambling, making Nevada the only state in the union to do so at the time. This decision proved to be a turning point for Las Vegas, as it quickly became a popular destination for those looking to gamble and enjoy the city's booming nightlife. In the 1930s and 1940s, many Las Vegas casinos were owned and operated by notorious mobsters such as Bugsy Siegel and Meyer Lansky. These mobsters used violence and intimidation to maintain control of the casinos and extort money from the owners. 1946 saw the opening of the Flamingo, a posh restaurant that took its cues from Hollywood rather than Deadwood. It has opened on Christmas Day, with scores of famous people in attendance, including top-tier talent scheduled for its lounges. Siegel was killed in 1947, but his goal for Las Vegas endured. Mobsters contributed to the construction of the Sahara, the Sands, the New Frontier, and the Riviera during the 1950s and 1960s, with funding from more respectable investors such as Wall Street banks, Union pension funds, the Mormon Church, and the endowment at Princeton University. Money from organized crime was used. 8 million people visited the resorts annually by the year 1954. Visitors were attracted to the resorts by entertainers like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Elvis Presley, as well as by rows of slot machines and gaming tables. One of the most powerful mob bosses in Vegas history was Meyer Lansky, known as the final wizard of the underworld. He was a master of money laundering and used the casinos to launder the proceeds of illegal activities. Lansky was also a major investor in the development of the Las Vegas Strip, and his influence can still be seen in some of the city's most iconic hotels and casinos. He was instrumental in the building of the Flamingo, the first luxury hotel and casino on the Las Vegas Strip. The mob also had a hand in creating the labor unions that controlled the city's construction and service industries, further solidifying their hold on the city. They used their control of the unions to ensure that only their construction companies were used to build the casinos, and only their people were hired to work in them. This allowed them to maintain a stranglehold on the industry and ensure they reaped profits. The mob's influence on the Las Vegas Strip also extended to the entertainment industry. Many of the city's top performers, such as Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, had close ties to organized crime figures, and the mob often used their control of the entertainment industry to launder money. However, during the 1940s and 1950s, the city experienced rapid growth and development as new casinos and hotels were built to accommodate the growing number of visitors. This period also saw the rise of organized crime in Las Vegas as the American mafia, also known as the Cosa Nostra, began to take control of the city's burgeoning casino industry. They used threats, intimidation, and violence to force legitimate business owners out of the market. The most notorious criminal organization in Las Vegas during this time was the Chicago Outfit, led by notorious mobster Al Capone. They controlled many of the city's casinos and used the profits to fund other illegal activities. The outfit also had a hand in creating the labor unions that controlled the city's construction and service industries, further solidifying their hold on the city. During the 1950s and 1960s, the federal government began to crack down on organized crime. The FBI targeted the mafia, and many of its leaders were arrested and convicted. However, the mob's influence in Las Vegas was not totally eliminated, and it continued to operate in the background, behind legitimate businesses. You seem surprised, right? The next points that I'll be sharing will further unveil how Las Vegas was rocked by a political scandal involving allegations of corruption and bribery at the highest levels of government, which raise questions about the moral integrity of those who hold the power to shape the future of this iconic city. So keep watching. Las Vegas has a long history of corruption and political scandals, dating back to the early days of organized crime's influence on the city's casinos and hotels. Some of the most notable examples include the skim is also known as skimming. This tactic was used by organized crime figures during the 1950s and 1960s to steal millions of dollars from Las Vegas casinos by manipulating the books and pocketing cash before it was recorded. It was done with the cooperation of corrupt casino employees and politicians who turned a blind eye to the illegal activity in exchange for bribes and kickbacks. Since the skim was a sophisticated operation that involved multiple layers of deception, it is no doubt one of the evil histories of Las Vegas. The first step was to create fake front money accounts, which were used to deposit money into the casinos. These accounts were controlled by mobsters, who then used the money to gamble and make it appear as though it was coming from legitimate sources. Next, the mobsters would use various methods to skim cash from the casinos. This included creating fake jackpots and payouts and manipulating the slot machines to pay out more than they should. The money skimmed from the casinos was then used to fund other illegal activities, such as drug trafficking and prostitution. It is also used to bribe politicians and government officials in order to secure favorable treatment for the casinos and avoid law enforcement scrutiny. The skim was a major problem in Las Vegas during the 1950s and 1960s, and it is estimated that organized crime figures could steal millions of dollars from the casinos using this tactic. It was only in the 1970s that the FBI began to crack down on the skim, and many of the mobsters involved were eventually arrested and convicted of racketeering and other crimes. Other political scandals that happened in Las Vegas also include the Dune scandal. In the 1970s, the Dunes Casino was at the center of a political scandal involving allegations of bribery and kickbacks. The casino's owner, Mo Dalitz, was accused of paying off politicians and government officials in order to secure favorable treatment for the casino. However, there is also the Stardust scandal. In the 1980s, the Stardust Casino was embroiled in a political scandal involving allegations of bribery and kickbacks. The casino's owners, Alan Glick and Frank Rosenthal, were also accused of paying off politicians, just like Mo Dalitz. These are only a few examples of the many corruption and political scandals plaguing Las Vegas over the years. The city's evil history of corruption is closely tied to its history of organized crime, as the mob often used bribes and kickbacks to secure favorable treatment for their casinos and hotels. When it comes to human trafficking, Las Vegas has been historically and presently known for it. It's pretty apparent that Las Vegas has a filthy underbelly, but most people have no idea how terrible it is. According to the UNLV Center for Crime and Justice Policy, the state as a whole has a higher percentage of people who have been victims of sex trafficking than the average for the entire country. Many are involved in a campaign to increase consciousness of the human trafficking that occurs in the city, and it just keeps getting worse. To the extent that the FBI has recognized Las Vegas as one of the nation's high-intensity child prostitution areas. In Nevada alone, there were an estimated 5,687 victims of the child sex trafficking trade in 2017. Las Vegas was also the hunting ground of a notorious serial killer. Yes, you heard that right. Samuel Little, the most active serial killer in the history of the United States, has admitted to killing 93 individuals between 1970 and 2005. Of those 93 deaths, law enforcement has already confirmed 50 of them. Unbelievably, one of those confessions was that he had killed a woman in Las Vegas whom he described as having blonde hair and blue eyes, somewhat slim, dark-skinned, approximately 40 years of age. As he went on to say, she is actively seeking new opportunities because she wouldn't have been out there. That leads me to believe that she was addicted to drugs. In addition to being the hunting ground of a notorious serial killer, Las Vegas was also the location of one of the most deadly mass shootings in recent history. Well, since the recent past is still history, it'd be unethical of us not to acknowledge the fact that as of the year 2017, Las Vegas was the location of one of the deadliest mass shootings in the country. At that time, Stephen Craig Paddock began shooting into the crowd from a window within the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. The target population was approximately 22,000 individuals. NBC News reports that he was responsible for the deaths of 59 individuals and injuries to over 500 more. When investigators stormed into Paddock's room to detain him, they discovered an additional 23 guns in there. It wasn't until 2019 that the FBI finally wrapped up its investigation into the shooting. At the end of it, they determined that Paddock's motivation for the shooting was entirely self-serving. Can you imagine how evil and inhumane he is? According to NBC News, the lead agent Aaron Roos stated that it had nothing to do with MGM, Mandalay Bay, or any other particular casino or location. It was all about causing the most amount of harm possible and giving him some sort of notoriety through his actions. They claimed that he had shot more than 1,000 bullets in 11 minutes from guns that he had lawfully purchased to live up to the reputation that his father had earned as a bank robber who is on the FBI's most wanted list. You will agree with me that indeed, Las Vegas really has its evil history. Additionally, the city is known to have a secrecy culture where many deals and activities happen behind closed doors, making it difficult to track and control corrupt activities. However, it's worth noting that the city has undergone many changes, and the present-day Las Vegas is much more regulated and controlled than it was in the past. Gambling, tourism, and other related businesses are now much more regulated and monitored to prevent any kind of corruption. But still, it's not completely free of it. As Las Vegas continued to grow and evolve, it became known as the Sin City for its reputation as a place where anything goes. Today, Las Vegas is known for its luxurious casinos, world-class entertainment, and vibrant nightlife, and it remains one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. However, the city's evil past as a center of vice and corruption continues to be an important part of its history and legacy. That'll be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video. Make sure to check this next video chosen for you. See you there.